generated around 560 plus million impressions organically. There was
creating property cards for the first time for people owning houses in the rural areas.
We have a patent on a bits technology, which...
But we were really guided by what we wanted it to be.
In terms of the content consumption pattern has changed.
Very competitive, very crowded.
The objective is basically to democratize cancer care.
I see a very bright future for retail industry.
Technology now allows us to scale up.
We also want to help patients become more compliant.
If I look at the custom solutions market, it's almost about $1,500 billion.
Your customers will not continue to be with you if you don't change gear.
We had adopted digitalization much earlier.
Within a very short span of time, we are the number one operator in the whole of South India.
If you are reaching out to a lakh people today, you would be reaching out to an entire globe tomorrow.
We got those two brands and then immediately got into a few of the LFRs and there was no looking back.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 26th episode of Ascent Talks. All right, before I actually do the usual routine, I just wanted to thank some of you guys who have written to us about our podcast. We are also on the Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on the Amazon Music, pretty much all the channels, and we receive some very interesting messages of people saying that we follow this show in the mornings on the way to our work. So thank you so much. And today's speaker, you will thoroughly enjoy it if you're listening to the podcast. It'll be a fantastic show for you guys. So good morning, everybody. My name is Ajit Panikar. I'm an Ascent member for over 10 years, and I lead Nova, an air conditioning company, and Pure Blue, a tech-enabled startup, which is probably the only company that offers air conditioning services across India. And my co-host, as usual, is a very creative person, Aleem. How are you doing, buddy?
Fantastic, Ajit. Good morning, and good morning to everyone. My name is Aleem Merchant. I lead an advertising and marketing company called Synapse, and I've been an Ascent member for 5-7 years now, and very excited to be part of Ascent. And Ajit is going to talk to you more about Ascent because we say Ascent so many times in this show. So I think it's good to know what's Ascent first.
That's right. So Ascent is a not-for-profit expression of Harsh Mariwala, Chairman Marico Ltd, and his passion to identify high-potential growth stage entrepreneurs and enable them to grow their enterprise and enrich their entrepreneurial journey. Launched in 2012, Ascent today empowers more than 850 entrepreneurs across India. Ascent is designed as a unique, powerful, peer-to-peer platform that leverages the power of the collective through self-facilitated groups called trust groups, which enables entrepreneurs to share and exchange experiences, ideas, insights, and create a healthy ecosystem to learn from each other. Ascent Talks, a weekly event, is held every Friday at 11 a.m. and it showcases the interesting entrepreneurial journeys of Ascent members. So, Ali, let's bring in our guest today.
Absolutely. And talking about guests and talking about introductions, I'll make an honest confession. In the past 26 weeks and 26 shows, every time I learn 2 new words. So today, 2 new words you all will have to identify from introduction. But introducing Pravin Shekhar. Pravin Shekhar is an outlier marketer and a raconteur. Unconventional marketing is his forte. When the world moves one way, you need to move another. That's Pravin's philosophy and work style. Inspiring creators is his purpose in life. As a parallel entrepreneur, Pravin has taken companies from startup to multi-million-dollar revenue. Pravin is a recipient of the American Marketing Association's Emerging Leader Award. He's a recipient of Ginny Valentine Award for skilling and employing people with disabilities. A creator across genres, Pravin conducts masterclasses and workshops for growth stage leaders. He has published 13 books till today, and all those books behind him are all his. Welcome, Pravin, to the show.
No, all his in the sense, not that he bought it. The guy wrote it.
Not like my medals, which I bought.
Oh, lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Lovely to be on Ascent Talks.
Fantastic. I mean, just kicking it off straight into the show. What do you do? Why do you do it? What's different about what you do? And tell us your story right from the start in a few seconds.
Lovely. Jack of all trades, master of communication. So at the end of my life, when I kick the bucket, I will have no regrets and I will go past with a smile and a large laugh on my lips. So what do I do? The primary entity that is the cash cow is KREA e-knowledge, and we assist healthcare companies take effective decisions through the power of research, analytics, and insights. KREA is one of the pioneers of the online panel business specific to research and decision making. We have by far the largest, best validated medical database for India that we use predominantly for research and to assist in decision making, price points, where to set up the next clinic, which product, whom to buy, etc. The entire segmenting part of it is done by KREA. Under KREA, our CSR initiative is called Can Do, where since 2010 we have been skilling and providing employment and social entrepreneurship for people with disabilities. And the third division is our creative powerhouse, where we invest, incubate in startups and ideas. It is through that I have my professional speaking career, the books, the music albums that we are producing, and a whole host of other courses that we are coming up with, specifically aimed at entrepreneurs, growth stage predominantly, but that's what I would call the creative release of the entire company per se. So these are the three professional things I do, but I will stop it at that point, Ali.
Well, Pravin, tell us something. The three professional things that you do are, I mean, for a layman, I'm sure you thought through it, but for a layman like us, who's looking at it saying, yeah, these are three different things that he's doing. Are they even connected? Where are they? One is the medical field, then you have the CSR for disabled. How did all these three things come across here? I mean, and are they really all different, or there's a story where they're all connected from behind, or anything of that sort? Tell us about it.
So that is obviously a very strong connect. So when we started building, validating the database, we needed a calling team. And the calling team actually physically calls the doctor or the hospital owner, verifies and puts it in. And that is when we first hired a couple of visually challenged resources in 2010 who were doing all the calls. And that was supplemented by the hearing impaired who were doing all the textual data editing and validation, all towards funding and funneling the main business of healthcare decision making by having our USP, our IP of the largest validated part, because that shortens the decision making time by at least 40%. Now, this answers the how, why, and what. What needs to be done, whom do we do it for, is where the outlier marketer school comes in, or Crux 108. And then the actual fielding, collecting data, analyzing happens as a combination between KREA Plus, which is the research arm, and Can Do, which is the call center. So each of these divisions were support centers for the main, but as happens in all our businesses, the support functions outgrow the main purpose for which they were built. And then Can Do started off supporting a lot of startups in their lead generation activities, calling, setting up appointments, scheduling virtual summits and events. And they had a lot of clients from incubation houses. And the same houses came back to us saying, hey, you tell us who is a buyer, you tell us why they want to, but how do we actually get them to buy? So what can you do? How can you help us? So that's the strong connect. We have a lot of healthcare startups and connects who use all three services, but pretty much all three are independent entities, different CEOs who run it through under the KREA umbrella. So that's the connection, but each of them have their own clientele across some pan global, some very specific to India.
And Pravin, what are the significant changes you brought about in this industry? What are the significant changes you are seeing in this industry, and how are you tapping?
Aleem, it gets my goat because I travel a lot. I'm a conference junkie. I love going to conferences to learn, to find out what's the next trend. So when KREA was formed, we brought in online research into India, online healthcare research as a specialist, 2009-10. We were out there trying to bring the new thing into India. And the education part of the sales took about 90% of the time, and it took us 6 months to 9 months to close a sale. So by 2010, we had to take a strategic decision that we cannot be educating everybody. And we moved our business development, lock, stock, and barrel outside India. So till date, 90% of KREA's clientele are international pharma, healthcare research houses that want to research into India. So the business development happened outside until, and we were getting 3, 4, 5% in terms of our total clientele as Indian clients, until Corona happened. And the whole physical world shut down. You couldn't research, you couldn't talk to people, you had to move online. And all of a sudden, my client, my competitor, their uncle and auntie all wanted to do online research, but for the last 10 years, who's been educating the world about online healthcare in India? So that happened automatically. So now there was no need for that education. So if you ask, what is it that we pioneered into India? Till date, we are the leading healthcare decision service provider in the wider research analytics industry. And we continue to move that with WhatsApp-based outreach and coming up soon with one of our incubation, which is an AI data bank of healthcare answers. So it is always trying to be at the cutting edge rather than the bleeding edge. But the problem being at the cutting edge is we cut ourselves first many times and then make the changes.
Amazing. So I'll tell you to all our viewers, Pravin has also brought a significant change to the Ascent community. If you want to see that, just notice him, okay? Look at that mustache of his, man. Look at that mustache. It's going, it's going to go behind his glasses soon, man. So Pravin, tell us, how did that happen? This big mustache. Yeah. How did that happen, man? Tell us about that mustache. We want to know more about that mustache.
Absolutely. So there are two parallel stories, and I'll keep it really short. One, when my wedding was getting finalized with my wife, and the engagement hadn't happened, but it was pretty much arranged.
Yeah, just in case of viewers, I just want to tell them, his wedding was with his wife. Okay,
yes,
it's different. It might be different for you guys, but his wedding was with his wife. Okay, please go ahead, Pravin.
So I sat her down and told her that my dad got married when he was 30, my grandfather at 30, my chacha at 31. Everybody lost their hair at 30. And I was 25 at that point. I told her, you got a 5-year notice, but it lasted 15 years. So that's behind this look. But 2010, 11 onwards, a lot of my college friends started coming back, moving back into India. And my drama troupe from college days started getting together. We didn't have time to do a lot of plays. So we started doing photo shoots. We started doing spoof, retro shoots. Some of our shoots, especially for Bahubali 1, got covered in the papers. So this was in character as Shikari Shambhu with the cap. So if you've seen the cartoon, so this was in character as Shikari Shambhu, but the character, everybody around me started loving it, that ended up becoming my brand. So I have my company brand and I have my brand, and this is necessary thanks to my mentor who said the company could be bought, sold, shared, done, whatever, but you as a brand are going to be your brand till you hit the bucket. So you need to invest in both. So if you look at my company colors, they are orange and black. But if you look at my personal colors, they are this. So that's the genesis behind the mustache. And now it is there to stay until we come up with another play or something else. But even then, I'll still have to retain the mush because that's become the identity.
Awesome.
And this is also my ode to Salvador Dali. So if you don't know, he's the craziest creator of all time.
Wow.
Amazing, Pravin. Just a quick one, Pravin. I know for viewers who feel, who've done, you've done so much businesses and you've made significant changes. Nice little story about for any entrepreneur. It's never an easy. There's always a backstory. So share with us what is that big challenges that you faced and how did you overcome with that? Yeah. What are this whole journey? What are those big things that really shook you up?
Right. So I'm going to relate to something very specific. I am a serial entrepreneur, which means I start companies. Now I'm a parallel entrepreneur. I've got multiple companies going. But when I started KREA, I was already in business. I had exited the company, and some members of my team who were in love with me followed me through to the new entity. So the biggest challenge I had was living up to their renewed expectations to recreate the magic that we had created earlier on. And I did not succeed fully. The whole bunch that had come in, Ajit and Aleem, you would react. We've already made a success. We made an exit, taken a sabbatical. I restarted something, and the whole my management team followed me right through. But within 2 years, I lost half that team because I was not able to recreate the magic in that short a time frame. And that is one of the biggest challenges that I had, and I'm remedying with every new business with former colleagues whom I continue to tap into to come in, is to calibrate and set the expectations right at every interaction that we go through. End of the day, we end up falling in love and going back to the familiar. So you mentioned about the wife. Well, our first love or our first girlfriend, etc. You keep trying to go back, but in this case, they are colleagues. They are people who worked and given the toil, tears, and sweat, and we've done it together in the battleground and made a success or failures that binds us more together. So my biggest challenge was, how do I live up to their expectation in the short term and in the longer term? Touch wood, I lost half the management team, but from the half that I lost, the other half has come back after a while out there. So my biggest challenge continues to be, when I start something new, how do I set the right expectations for my team that believes in my power, not the business, in my brand, on me? And therefore, the pressure to give back more ROI, because they've also made sacrifices and come through, becomes larger. And as the company grows, the bonding that you have increases with a lot more people. How do you take it forward? How do you make sure they have an ROI for their life, for their time investment in your brand?
Pravin, now I'm going to show you something.
Yes.
Fanboy moment.
Yes.
Yes. So
combat
yes,
culture.
Share with us, how did you write 13 books? Most entrepreneurs say that they don't need a 1 minute of spare time, and here you can write 13 books. So give us the secret. How does one write 13 books in their lifetime? And I know you're going to write about 25, 30 more. So
yes. Oh, it comes down to I took a book coach for my first book, Devil Does Care, which was a marketing book on guerrilla and outlier marketing. And the first thing he said, Kripa Shankar, who was the book coach for my first book and continues to guide me, he said, your first book is going to be crap. Deal with it. And two, why does the book have to be in Wall Street or other part for other people's parameters? You are writing for your audience. You write for your audience and be happy with it. And the second guru that I have is Arun Verma from Arun Verma Design Services, who runs a retreat called Creative Ghar, who said it is our purpose in life to create whatever we are given, to create and put it out into the universe and leave it up to the universe to go ahead. And therefore, once the first book started, which incidentally, on the same date I launched my first book, my 9-year-old daughter at that point launched her first book. And it was very well received. That kind of gives you a bit of a vanity kickback. And the second one comes out and the third one comes out. But in my case, Ajit and Aleem, I also have a robust parallel career as a professional speaker. I get paid to speak, which means every year you need to have something new to offer to the audience, a new marketing talk, a new method, a new research that you have tested out. And when you deliver a talk that roughly translates into 10,000 words, add something more, and then you have a book ready. So every year I need to come up with a new topic, and therefore it comes through. But how do I write? I write every morning. Whether it is good or bad, I write every morning. And two, I read on average about 65 to 70 books every year. And they shape your thoughts. I listen to other speakers, but it is my way of planting my seed back into the universe. Whatever happens with it, I have no expectations. It does well. So people, when they ask me, so how many of your books are bestsellers? And I say every single one of them. They say, "I don't joke, man. I don't see it anywhere." The reason I come up with my books is for my purpose, for my expectations. So as per my expectations, it is every single book is a bestseller because it's brought out for a specific purpose. One of the books is for, like Ascent, I'm also quite active in the Professional Speakers Association of India, where 90% of the members are speakers, but they want to be professional speakers. So I brought out a book only for that segment, how to get my first paid speaker gig. and out of the 200 members, 150 bought it. So why is it not a bestseller?
Yeah, right. Too good.
Right? To me, it is. And talking about marketing, these are other avenues for people to taste me. So they pick up the book because they like the cover, and I have a team that works with me on every book. Arun Ramkumar, Nandini Ramkumar, Rahul and Siddharth who are also there. So they like the book, they read it, and only if they like it, they're going to talk to me. Right? Which means it is a marketing qualified lead coming in for me to execute any sale that is necessary. And it is a pull tactic. I'm not going and say, buy me, book me for speaking. They read it, they see the videos, they like it, and then they come over, which pays back to my business because they know me as the CEO of the company. So that trust and likability automatically comes through. It's a transfer of trust. Acha, Pravin has done this, then his company will also do that. And that moves in smoothly.
Yes.
Amazing, Pravin. Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you actually spelled it out so well. Trust me, dude, your energy is even if it's on the video, it's like full on, man.
One life, Ajit and Ali, we've got to make it count, and we've got to give everything that you have.
But like Pravin, but Pravin, there's one question that I've been waiting to ask. In an entrepreneur's journey, you've done quite a few things, but one of the most critical things, like at the stage that you are in and giving back and everything, is about succession. Your enterprises live beyond you; they're immortal. I mean, they go beyond it. You build legacy around it. Your business is so diverse, and it's all driven out of your passion. Have you thought about succession, and how do you think? I mean, is that practically possible? Not possible, or is it a challenge? What's your thoughts on that?
Right. It does tend to be a challenge up and down, but succession, I look at it in two parts. One are my professional children, people whom I have worked with, groomed, and have come up the management ladder, and one are my biological children. The answer is very clear. My biological children at this state in mind, 20 and 16, have clearly said they're not interested in numbers, statistics, or marketing. So it most likely will be the social arm that one or two of them would carry through. So the succession on each of these business will be to the professional children, so that I can at some point get out of the title of CEO, but then the business will continue through. And at this point, I'd love to quote Robert Cialdini. His book Influence talks about whether you are in authority or you are an authority. Very beautifully done, that in authority means you have the title, you have the Gadi, you have the big one, the image of being in authority, versus being an authority when, regardless of what you do in that particular talk, you are an expert. So in terms of the succession planning from a professional children perspective, I will cease to be in authority much sooner, so that the company becomes an authority, and then my colleagues who've been with me for years will then take and run it through forward, as opposed to the biological children, whatever they are looking at. Because I'm a first-generation entrepreneur, my wife's a first-generation entrepreneur, and we are hoping our kids would take up entrepreneurship in some form or shape really quickly. But it's their journey, and they will need to decide what they want to do, while we have the platform ready should they decide to jump into any form of entrepreneurship. So that's my answer to you, Ajay.
Wow, amazing.
But I will tell you a story. So over 3 or 4 Ascent conclaves back, I was sitting in one of the rows, and I saw this guy, very well dressed, mustache, I'm talking about. Okay, and I'm like asking someone, who's this guy? He said he leads our Ascent Chennai chapter. So yes, Pravin, I wanted to ask you about Ascent, your journey, but I also want to ask you how you're leading the Ascent Chennai chapter and what you're doing for the people over there. And for our listeners who would be logging in from Chennai, why should Chennai be interesting?
Right. So from a Chennai chapter, I'm a part of the Pioneers Trust Group, and as a part of our trust group, the first trust group in Chennai, therefore Pioneers, and we had our meetings alternate every month in our respective offices. And I still remember 3 years ago, I started in 2018, and around 2020, just before the lockdown, we had a TG meeting in my office, and my wife and I run the business together. And she walked on at the end of the meeting just to say hello to my trust group members and thanked each and every one of them for the transformation in me as an entrepreneur after having joined Ascent. Because what Ascent provided me was my board of directors, my board of advisors who question me, who hold me accountable for my promise to become a better entrepreneur and to run the company better than I possibly can or I should. So that's how it started. And we did get beaten up a little bit from a COVID perspective because we had a pretty good, strong trajectory of growth, and then things turned hybrid. But now we are on the growth path again with close to 100 members in Chennai. And to me, Ajit and Aleem, it is what my wife told my trust group, that I can see a transformation in Pravin. Thank you. Even though she has no idea because of the confidentiality, what is it that we discuss, but she observes what I do in the company and how that has changed, how I interact with people, how the strategic vision has changed. And that is something that as a growth stage entrepreneur, growth stage first generation entrepreneur, I lacked. Whom do I go to and ask for advice? Whom do I, without getting into the Gyan mode? So as the Ascent rule, whenever I put forth the problem, those who had solved the problem told how they had solved the problem. And it's up to my smarts to see what can I learn, what can I adapt, how quickly can I put through. And two, we are in India. This is not the West where you go talk to shrinks and that has become a fad. So my trust group members, my board of advisors are my shrinks to whom I can go and whine. I can go and complain. I can talk about, hey, I am frustrated. And they step in and saying, hey, how can we help out? And this is not just from a professional standpoint, also from a personal standpoint with our monthly check-ins where we talk about what went right, what went wrong. So, and being only for growth stage entrepreneurs, our problems are different. We've made our first million, we've made our second million. How do we get to 10 million? Right? So the challenges are quite different, and which is what Ascent brings to the table here. And for all those who are listening, yes, I'm a fan, I'm an evangelist, because I have received so much that it is time for us to also continue to give. And that is my take from an Ascent Chennai perspective. The intra trust group meetups are going to continue to increase, not necessarily from a business perspective, but from a badminton or a games or also what's happening in our respective WhatsApp groups. The request for helps. Hey, I need somebody here. I need somebody here. And that's a transfer of trust that happens. I have worked with this individual. Why don't you look at working through? So Chennai chapter will continue to grow. And Chennai is not only Chennai, it's also the borders. We have people coming in from Coimbatore, from Madurai, from Tirupur. A lot of meetings are happening. So this is a support structure, Ajit and Aleem, that Harsh Mariwala dreamed of, and a whole lot of us are reaping the benefits, and we will need to share it through.
That's true.
How amazing is that? Yeah, fantastic, fabulous stuff, man. So, Pravin, 30 minutes of power pack. We are very close to that 30 minutes, but that energy level is like too good, man. It's like, yeah, I mean, it goes with your knowledge and your speaking assignments and your writing skills. It all just shows up out there, man. It's just fantastic. I was completely glued listening to you. That Aleem used to say, Aleem messages me saying that Agla question, next question you have to ask. But I'm completely clued on to you, man. But awesome, Pravin. It's fantastic to have you with us. And it's been fun listening to you. To be very honest with you, it's been fun listening to you. We met, you've met so many times, but when you do a talk show like this, and then you realize you just discover a different facet of a person. And it's
absolutely
fantastic.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much,
Great
Pravin. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And thank you for sharing this journey. Thanks a lot.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Whoa, man, that was like superpower, man. Gosh, that guy's got some energy.
Drained out, dude. Itna energy
Yeah, make sure we always put the charger plugged in, kind of stuff. But too good. I love that energy. I love that whole thing. It's nothing like getting on to a Friday morning with that super energy. Yeah, it's fantastic. So to all our viewers, like how we always say, if you think that you enjoy these shows, share it with another entrepreneur. Share it on your social media handles. Put a small note as to what did you like in that show. It makes a difference. It's a conversation starter, and who knows, you might just make new friends. And if you are an entrepreneur who is truly growth ready and you want to make a difference to your own business and to the society around you, get to ascentfoundation.in and drop in an application. The Ascent team is going to get in touch with you post-evaluation. If you actually are truly growth ready, we'd be happy to have you in our cohort. And that's what we are, 850 entrepreneurs. We've actually showcased 26 of them. And next Friday, we'll come with another interesting story on Friday at 11 a.m. on Ascent Talks. And see you then. Thank you very much, guys.
Have a power-packed weekend, guys. Take care.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a good time. Have a great weekend. See you. Bye-bye.